Welcome to Kindness in Motion. Now, before we dive in, I want us to start with a moment that captures why this podcast exists. So, Parry, the world feels heavy sometimes, doesn't it?
It does. And I think that's why this conversation matters.
Because kindness isn't a luxury.
No, it's a lifeline.
Welcome to Kindness in Motion, a podcast about the quiet, powerful force that keeps people from becoming invisible.
We're here to talk about the moments that matter, the small acts that interrupt loneliness, the gentle gestures that remind us we're still seen.
This movement began because we noticed something happening online and offline, people slipping through the cracks, not just those who are neurodivergent, not just those who are struggling, but all kinds of people. Look, kindness shouldn't be rare and it shouldn't be passive. It needs to move.
Every 2 weeks we'll share stories, conversations and reflections. Sometimes just the two of us, sometimes with guests who bring their own lived experiences of courage, kindness and visibility.
And each episode ends with a small, gentle act of kindness you can offer someone in your world. Nothing overwhelming, just something real.
So, if you've ever felt overlooked, if you want to be part of a movement that keeps people visible, or if you simply believe that kindness still matters,
then you're already part of Kindness in Motion. We're really glad you're here.
So let's begin at the heart of it. Suzy, when you talk about kindness in motion, you're not talking about just being nice. You're talking about something deeper. What does it mean to you?
Kindness in Motion isn't about politeness, and it's not about smoothing things over or pretending everything's fine. It's active. It notices. It steps in. It interrupts a moment when someone starts to disappear into silence. You know, I've seen how easy it is for people to be overlooked, online, offline, everywhere. And yeah, I am neurodivergent. I have autism and ADHD. I often feel things intensely or process them differently. But what I witnessed wasn't just a neurodivergent experience. The harm wasn't selective. It was happening to everyone across personalities, backgrounds, and ways of thinking.
And that's something that I've seen too. People shrinking, people going quiet, people fading out of conversations because they don't feel safe or seen.
Exactly. Now, Kindness in Motion grew from recognising that this wasn't an isolated issue. It was a full human issue. When you're dismissed, misread or ridiculed, you don't just feel hurt. You lose parts of yourself. And I couldn't watch that happen anymore.
So you said before that this movement didn't come from nowhere, that there's a story behind it. There's a reason that you see these patterns so clearly.
Sadly, yes, there is. And I do want to talk about it in a way that's honest but safe. So I may gloss over some things. Now, I was late diagnosed autistic and ADHD, and that has shaped the way I see people. It did help me understand why I'd always felt things so intensely or seemed to process the things differently. And it helped me make sense of something else too. I learned early what it feels like to be misread, to be talked over, to be reduced to something smaller than I actually was, to shrink myself to safety. And because of that, I spent years on social media without acknowledging the bullying. Not because I didn't notice it, but because in a strange way it felt familiar. It mirrored patterns I'd learned to live with, patterns I thought were normal.
So what was it that changed everything for you? What was the turning point?
That's a good question, actually, Parry. I think it wasn't until I started working with Access All Areas that I finally saw it clearly. I saw how poisonous social media could be, how quickly people get reduced, dismissed, or torn apart, how the cruelty online can be just as sharp and sometimes just as deadly as the real life bullying. And there's ignorance that so many of us have faced. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it.
So that was a real kind of aha moment for you. You weren't just experiencing it, but you were recognizing it for what it really was.
Absolutely. Oh, and I realised it wasn't just happening to people like me. It was happening to everyone. I was seeing people being dismissed, misread, insulted, pushed to the edges across the board. So kindness in motion came from that moment of clarity, from seeing a pattern that didn't discriminate and decided it needed interrupting.
And while it's really important to kind of combat and counteract bullying, like kindness in motion isn't just about bullying, is it? There's something bigger happening with the movement.
Oh, yes, there is. And it was thanks to you, Parry, that I was made aware of perhaps one of the worst pandemics in our history. And that's a pandemic of loneliness. People, ironically, are more connected than ever. And yet they are lonelier than they have ever been before.
I think there's a difference between being lonely and being a loner. Because I can be a bit of a loner sometimes.
No, really, I would never have said that about you, honestly. But yeah, you do have to differentiate between a choice to have your own space or the lack of choice in just being alone with no connections.
Yeah.
That is the real pandemic. That is loneliness, and that is pain. And if we can just one little moment interrupt that and make someone feel seen, then this really is what kindness in motion is about.
Absolutely.
So we do scroll past each other. We constantly misunderstand others' points of views. We always tend to assume the worst, and we forget to check in, and we forget to look up. Kindness isn't a cure-all. I'm going to be 100% realistic, but it is a bridge. It's a moment of warmth in a cold room, a reminder that someone still sees you.
And really, that's all it takes sometimes. Just a single comment, a single check-in message. Just a moment of listening to someone without trying to fix the problem. These tiny things can change and make a massive change to the trajectory of someone's life, really.
Yeah, and we have seen the positive consequences of that, which, I will not lie, are also sort of laced with pressures. And kindness is that thing that moves through our social system. It's a bit like blood moving through the body. You don't see it working, but you do notice when it's gone.
So, Suzy, who is this podcast for?
Now, if you're wondering if this podcast is for you, it probably is. It's for anyone who's had a rough day and doesn't want to explain why. For those who've been misunderstood in a group chat, or the ones who've been told they're too much or sensitive or just not enough, which is one of the worst things for anyone. And it's also for people who want to believe that kindness still exists, even when the world feels dark and hopeless. It's also for the people who want to be kind, but are tired of it. They don't know how to be kind without feeling as if they're being taken advantage of. And it's for those people who do care so deeply, who do action kindness, but then they feel stretched, thin, overwhelmed, or just quietly burning out. And it's for the people who want connection, but really aren't sure where to start. And for those people who scroll in silence, for people who feel the world a little too painfully, and for people who just want to feel a little less alone.
So basically, if you're human, you are welcome here. And even if you're tired, you are especially welcome.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, that probably sounded really deep, didn't it? But The meaning is so important. And in every episode, we will end with a small act of kindness, something human, not fluffy, not heavy.
So today's is nice and simple.
Think of someone who's been a little quiet lately, someone you haven't heard from in a while, and send them a message either via email or text, and obviously in your own words. And it doesn't have to be an essay. It can be something as simple as, "Hi, you popped into my thoughts today. I'm sending a bit of warmth your way."
No fixing, no digging, just letting someone know that they're not forgotten.
Kindness doesn't need to be perfect.
No, it just needs to move.
Because when kindness moves, people stay visible.
And when people feel seen, they survive. And sometimes they heal.
So if you've got a story of kindness in motion, big or small, share it with us using #kindnessinmotion, because you know this movement belongs to all of us. Every 2 weeks, we'll be back with a new episode, sometimes just me and Parry, and sometimes with guests who bring their own lived experiences of kindness, courage, and visibility. Also, later in the series, we'll be talking about neurodiversity, how different brains experience kindness, harm, and connection.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Hold today's conversation gently. Let it move at its own pace.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we are really glad you're here. If this lifted you even a little, hit follow, share it with someone who could use a spark of kindness, and come with us as this movement grows. You're part of this now, and we're really glad you're here.